Coming at you, it's the Psycho Bastardo Show.
Well, Caleb got hit by a car. I didn't. And slept for 8 days. Running on the pizza all day. Now I think I'm gonna run on parks.
How are y'all doing, Cult Classic Convention? Here to help us kick off Saturday is an actress whose diverse filmography has led to working alongside such directors as Roger Christensen, as well as Amadeus Helmer, Milos Forman on the Andy Kaufman biopic Man on the Moon. However, many recognize her as one of the few talents to become a member of Quentin Tarantino's universe through such films as Pulp Fiction, Curdled, as well as his first and only time directing for television on a little show called ER, which I had absolutely no idea. We'll go into all that here soon. But everybody welcome Angela Jones.
Thank you.
All right. And I guess we'll start things off like a little less heavy and just see if you could talk a little about your life before getting into show business, if you could. Yeah.
I started out in theater. I went to theater. And
and feel free to pop the mic off the little stand there. There we go.
I'm from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area, and I got my master's degree in theater, which got me into film through the film department, and that's where I did Curdled, which Quentin Tarantino saw.
That was awesome. Like
Thank
I
you.
saw that last night, and I was just like, there's not enough
Thank you.
praise to go for that.
Yeah, so it was originally a short film that I did in graduate school.
Oh, for real?
And then Quentin wanted to executive produce the feature version.
So he saw it at, was it a general screening? Or?
It was at a film festival in Italy.
Oh,
and
no
he
way.
was- yeah,
he
he
just
was
happened to just be around in Italy.
He
just
was. He was promoting Reservoir Dogs at the time and writing Pulp Fiction.
There we go.
So he wrote my part into Pulp Fiction based on the Curdled short character, and
Yeah.
then made the feature version of Curdled.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Like, I guess whenever, because obviously the workflow is between a short film and a feature film.
Right.
The scale is just incredibly different.
Right.
Like, were you kind of taken back by the idea of it being fleshed out into a feature, or have you always sort of pictured it in your
We
head?
had talked about it. It was originally a 2-minute student film, then it turned into a 30-minute graduate thesis film, and we had talked about it being a feature, but it was
Oh, that's
not
awesome.
on the scale that
and
we
then
did.
it's always great from a production standpoint whenever things go past
We had
talk.
we had a budget and all that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, did you have any particular stories on the set of, I guess, the short film first, like as far as like what was the crew size like on that?
Small. It was very
Everybody was doing 5 jobs at once.
Exactly. It was a student film, so
Yeah.
I didn't exactly know what I was doing, so I didn't do much, and it was all in close-up, so
Wow.
yeah.
Man, I need to see, like, stylistically, or for you, like, how different is the short from the feature in terms?
The story's not much different. It's just, I mean, it's not an action-packed film, but it's a little different. Not much, though. Not much.
Were the From Dusk Till Dawn references,
Yes.
like, in the...
Those were added in
Wow.
after.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And,
That was still in production when we filmed it.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah.
Oh, man, like, just thinks on his feet. And I guess with everything that you've ever worked on in mind, which project would you say was the most important to your career?
Pulp Fiction, for sure.
Okay,
That was my first,
yeah.
when I moved to LA, it was my first movie, and
That scene is awesome.
Thank you.
too.
Thank
Like,
you.
it's
Thanks.
one of the easily, like, top
I was
5.
very nervous when I did.
Yeah, actually, going on that for a little bit, like, how did it come about, like, getting on there?
Well, Quentin wrote me into the movie based on the character he saw in the short of Curdle, so it's a
Yeah.
very similar character. And my direction in Pulp Fiction was just do what you did in Curdle, so
Yeah,
that was it.
no, that's awesome. And then I
Yeah.
guess you can answer this how you will. Like, how was working with Bruce Willis that day, or how many days was it?
We had a rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I was very nervous, and
Oh, yeah.
he was great. He was really, really nice. And then we shot one day on location, one day with the rear projection, and then another day outside the hotel. So 3 days total. That was it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess, like, yeah, I guess with the Andy Kaufman biopic, like, I guess I saw some trivia or heard some behind the scenes where Jim Carrey was very adamant about being called Andy.
I
the
never
whole
met Jim
time.
Carrey. I can say that. He was
Okay,
in
yeah,
character
yeah.
the entire time. He was,
Damn.
it was either Andy Kaufman or Tony Clifton, his alter ego that he played. But never did I ever see Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's very cool. I
Yeah,
guess
it's fun.
I guess if everybody you've ever worked with, like, who was, I guess, the most intense about their roles, or just anything that it was almost intimidating from a work standpoint?
Nobody too intimidating.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that-
pretty good.
No, that's great.
yeah. yeah.
Like, let's see. And then I guess, yeah, like when I went by your table to sort of fact check all
Right.
my stories, like, you sort of done this whole idea that Tarantino directed for television,
Right.
which the dots were starting to connect as far as finding George Clooney and just
Right.
all of that.
Yeah.
And like, what was the work like? Was there much of a workflow difference for him that, like, he seemed intimidated, or was it anything?
But did who? Quentin?
Oh yeah, like, how was his approach, I guess, towards that? And
He's great. I mean, it's always very relaxing, and he knows exactly what he wants, and it's never been
that's really cool.
intimidating or anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I guess, as far as getting into acting
Uh-huh.
as a whole, like, what sparked that fire for you? Like,
I was gonna go to school for music, and I wasn't that good, so.
no, I know. Yeah.
You know, I did local stuff when I was little, and theater in school, and started that way.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I just enjoyed the work, which was most important.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess. You've been on at least, like, just dozens of sets throughout your time, and just
A
seeing
lot of
how
things that
full-
haven't been released.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Oh,
still in.
Actually,
Never made
yeah,
light of
and
day.
like, going on that for a second, like, were there any sort of projects where you were very, like, into it, but then whenever it wasn't released, you were just kind
Yeah,
of
of course, it's heartbreaking because you put everything into it, and then you never see it. Some that I was happy that would never came out. But
Oh no, absolutely. That's awesome.
yeah.
Like, I guess, what would you say was the ratio, I guess, of projects that you would work on? Because it's like,
Right.
as a indie filmmaker also, like, this ratio for me is very thrown in a very peculiar way, and I was
Right.
wondering.
We, wow, let me think. About a little less than half, probably.
Okay,
You get
I mean, that's good. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty great.
Yeah, not too bad.
And then I guess, like, I guess as far as, like, being at a convention and, like, being in that sort of environment, like, what part in your sort of career in your life do you feel the fans have? And
This is only my second convention, but
oh wow,
people, yeah.
welcome.
People have been amazing. Like, I had no idea. Like, a lot of people haven't even seen Curdle, but the people that have, that I've met,
Right.
like, really love it, and that means a lot. So fans are, of course, very important.
Man, it's like, you should absolutely, there should be a screening of Curdle at your
There
next
should,
convention
there should.
appearance.
That'd be great.
Like, in that, like, I guess as far as public screenings of seeing stuff with an audience, when was the
Right.
last time, like, you've seen your own movie with an audience?
Wow, it's been a while.
Right. Because I guess some actors are very adamant about not seeing their own work.
Oh, I love to
at
see
the
it.
convention.
I love to see it.
That's-
Good and bad.
That's so
I
cool.
want to see it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And then, I guess, Was there anybody that you worked with, like, I guess, you took, like, with your acting classes, did you take theater classes?
I
or-
did. I have a master's in theater. Actually, a teacher of mine is now the head of the theater department at the University of Texas, Austin, Brant Pope.
Well, you've had to
he's-
have visited since we're so close.
I have not yet. We just got into town. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I hear it's a great school.
Yeah, that's, I guess, from all the people that you've, like, went to school with and learned all the skills of your trade, like, how many of those people do you still visit or communicate with now? Or
Oh, Facebook has been amazing with connecting people from the past.
yeah, Facebook has really been a huge help
yeah.
for making everything connect. And then I guess, do you have a particular genre of film or a particular story that you like portraying?
I
most?
love independent films and
Just-
dark, very dark.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're
Weird.
absolutely in the dark ages,
Yeah.
and things are much weirder now than they
Yeah.
have been. And then I guess, what were some of the darker, weirder projects that you've seen that sort of inspired?
Oh
Like
gosh, that's a good question. Off the top of my head, I can't think.
Oh no. Like I hear that. It's
So-
like, don't be intimidated by.
Right.
It's okay.
A great film that I saw was May. It's a. Do you know the
Yeah.
movie?
I heard of that.
Really good. It's
Yeah.
Really good.
And then someone out there has seen Maids and just is
May
like,
and May Y.
it may.
May. Yeah.
May. Some-
It's a great dark.
There you go.
comedy.
Like how old is that, or when did
I
it,
don't-
where did you see it in
I
the
saw
theater?
it online. No.
Oh.
But it's a. It was a package with Curdled at one point on Amazon, so it was great. I was very
Yeah, that's
flattered with that because I love that.
absolutely. Like that's amazing. And then I guess based on your experiences here, do you see like you having more fan interactions and
Yeah,
experiences
it's
in
been
the future?
amazing. People have been great.
That's
I
right.
had no idea.
No, absolutely. Like it looks like you're having fun.
Yeah,
and
we're having a great time.
very awesome.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that I also want to figure out, like any projects or anything you've got going on right now.
I just wrapped a movie called Landfill, which should be out end of November. It's in post-production now.
Oh, really cool.
It's a paranormal thriller, which is fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's gotta be some film festivals in Austin or in LA.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to it.
That's very cool. And then I guess if anybody's got any questions, like y'all can make y'all's way to the stage at y'all's leisure. And then in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep talking for just a little
Okay.
bit. And I guess going back to your first convention appearance, like what sort of who talked you into it, and
It
like,
was,
what were
it
your
was
first thoughts?
Days of the Dead in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay.
And we did like a Pulp Fiction group thing. So that
Oh,
was, it was
absolutely.
fun. It was fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then
Not as
and-
fun as this, though.
And from a talent standpoint, I think it's kind of cool, just like everybody's together and networking, and then
Right.
like there's some people you thought you would never see again, possibly that you
Probably.
are sitting right next to. Or,
Right,
yeah,
probably.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Yes.
All right.
So you mentioned that you like watching darker indie picks,
Yeah.
right? So what kind of roles are you looking for? Like, what are you driven to play now?
Well, I've never played like somebody normal, so that would be a challenge probably at this point. But I like to play the opposite of what appears on the page, just to see the underside, something a little deeper, interesting. Why? Because
Repeat that again for.
Why is that?
There we go.
because that's what's fun. That's what makes people, you know, who they are when they're not
Very cool.
who they are, you know,
Yeah.
who you think they are. Yeah, the
Absolutely.
more interesting side.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then I guess anybody else got anything? Like you? All right. Well, it's like
This has been great. This has been great. Thank
oh,
you.
absolutely. Like thank you for coming on
Sure.
and like dealing with me sort of ramble on.
No, it's good. It's good.
And then I guess for anybody who missed this, which shame on you, you can catch her booth
That
down
way.
That way, yes. And absolutely, thank you for
Yeah,
coming
thank
on.
you. Thank you. This has been
All
great.
right.
Thank you.
All right, Angela Jones, everybody.
Thank you.
Our next guest is an actor, comedian, writer, producer, and director. Throughout his acting career, he worked and shared the screen with such talents as Michael J. Fox, Michael Gross, John Astin, Meredith Baxter, McLean Stevenson, Yvonne Wilder, Julie Carmen, Gene Simmons, Ozzy Osbourne, and be directed by John DeBello of the cult classic Killer Tomatoes films on the installation known as Killer Tomatoes Eat France. But you guys, y'all know him from Trick or Treat. Come on. Trick or Treat? No one? Yeah. All right. Cool. If that isn't enough, he would perform for 15 consecutive years at Harrah's in Las Vegas and produce for such cable networks as Disney Channel, Showtime, Animal Planet, Food Network, GSN, as well as TBS's Midnight Money Madness. Please welcome to the stage, Mark Price, everybody. Yeah.
There we go.
Let's see, we on? All right, so while that is booting up, if you've got questions,
Thank you.
There we are. Yeah. And I guess as you guys have questions, as I'm rambling, come on up to the stage, and once I slow down, you guys can swoop in and ask the real questions. But right now, I'm going to warm it up for them, and you as well. So, like something that's an often occurring theme that I'm always going to ask everybody is talking a little bit about your life before show business stepped into the picture for you.
You're like a real life Wayne and Garth.
Yeah?
You're very good at this,
Okay,
actually.
good,
I
good,
gotta
good.
say.
Whew, all right.
No, because I've done a lot of interviews, and you've got a great energy.
Okay, awesome. That's exactly, I make it a point just to be
To
energetic.
do a lot of drugs before you do these things.
Yes. We're just pacing around me like, believe in myself. So talk a little bit about like your life before this whole acting, producing.
I started so young that I didn't have much of a life before. I was a kid. I was a little kid. I grew up in Hollywood in the 80s in showbiz. Michael Jackson never touched me.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky because my dad was a comedian. He was an old-time comedian. And my dad was on the radio with Fred Allen, and he was on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Wow.
And he worked with people like George Burns and
Dang.
greats from the old days. And he took me to see those guys. So I actually got to hang out with George Burns and
Okay,
Milton
so
Berle and people like that when I was a little kid.
where do we begin? Share some stories of how they were for you.
Well, it was pretty incredible because I wouldn't just meet them. I would get to hang out. Like I brought Milton Berle his tea before he'd go on. And I would, I remember I pitched a joke to him and that was a big deal. Or we'd ride back in the limousine to New York City from upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains with Joey Bishop or somebody like that.
Holy
and talk
crap.
about jokes and shows and stuff. It was a great introduction to comedy. But my dad had been around for so long that he took me to go see the younger comedians, which in those days were Robert Klein and David Brenner.
Yeah.
You know, now they're the old guard. But in those days, they were the kids. And he always kind of kept me moving on the track of forward thinking and modern comedy and all that.
That is so cool. So that knocks out one of the questions on this list as far as comedy has always been a part of your life.
Always been a part of my life. I moved out to Hollywood when I was 13, really more like when I was 11, actually. 11 to 13, I kind of moved out west and got into Hollywood showbiz. I'd already been in comedy,
Man.
but that's when I started auditioning and acting and that kind of thing.
And then I guess that must have been a huge splash, like as far as like everything being connected and like things being easy to access.
I went on TV as a comedian on the Merv Griffin Show when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And they called me into NBC and sort of found family ties for me after that.
Dang.
So it started as a stand-up, and then I started acting, and I did a couple of movies, and one of them, it was my first movie that I ever made. I was 15 years old, and that one no one's ever seen.
Oh, no. Which one is it? There might be someone that yells.
It's
"Yeah."
called The Zoo Gang. And
Zoo Gang.
it had an alternative title. It came out again called Winners Take All. And I was away on location making this movie, and Family Ties called me to be in an episode, and they were like, what? Skippy's not available? He's working on a movie? And that's how I got the contract to be on regularly.
That's awesome. So I guess from a workflow standpoint, from an acting standpoint, and just from a delivery standpoint, is there incredible differences in television and in film? or which do you prefer?
Well, all these answers date back some time. These days, I don't even know the difference anymore. What's going on in showbiz? But in those days, yeah, there's a difference. The whole setup of how it works, the process. It's different. It's fun.
Yeah.
Both of them are fun. You're more like a team effort when you're working on a movie. I mean, the TV show was a team effort too, but it's just different. People come in. It's more like a 9 to 5. You live where you shoot. When you go on location to make a movie, it all changes. It's camp. It's summer camp. The crew, the actors, you're all in Vietnam together.
Oh my God.
Making this movie.
Yeah. And then I
And
guess
if the movie happens to be Platoon, all the more like Vietnam. But even if it's just Trick or Treat.
which speaking of different genres of film, I don't believe you've done another horror film prior to Trick or Treat. That must have been
Yes, Trick or Treat was my first. My first.
Was it your best?
No doubt. Directed by Charles Martin Smith, who movie fans remember from American Graffiti. He played Toad.
I failed from my research standpoint. That's awesome.
And
no
he'd
idea.
been in a lot of movies too, The Untouchables and Starman. He's been in a lot of stuff. And he went on to direct the Air Bud movies.
What? Get out of here.
And he was super cool to work with. And then the soundtrack, of course, we heard rough tracks while we were making the movie, and everybody knew that was going to be what was going to make this thing fly was the music. Fast Way.
Dude. So I guess receiving direction from
Charles Martin Smith.
Yes. It's just I don't need to say it. What compared to all the directors you've worked with throughout your career.
He identified with me because I was kind of nerdy, and he had always played nerdy Toad.
Yeah.
And I think he booked me to do the movie because of that, because we had similar outlooks on things. Keanu Reeves was up for the role.
No kidding.
And
Damn.
they probably hit themselves today. We could have had Keanu Reeves.
Nah, it worked out. It worked out very well.
But Charlie probably is the reason why I got chosen.
No, that's very cool. And I guess
I got into it. I listened to a lot of heavy metal music. There's a monologue in the beginning of the movie, and I recorded it on audio and sent it to the director, which is kind of a ballsy thing to do as an actor.
Yeah.
And
I've
I
never
was
heard anybody do
pretty
that.
committed to getting the role. I was determined.
That is so cool. And then I guess working on the same stage as Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah.
Gene Simmons was great, and Ozzy. I feel like I knew the secret of Ozzy before everyone else did, because you saw the TV show and you got to know that Sharon runs the show, and he can be a little goofy, and he's not exactly the demon of darkness that we all perceived him to be.
Right.
And I kind of was in on that ahead of the game.
Wow. That's
Great guy. And Sharon's fantastic too. So when a fan from the movie contacted me and said they were too ill to go to a concert in the Detroit area in Michigan, the fan asked for an autographed picture of Ozzy. So I contacted Sharon in England and left a message with the kid's address. Could you send an autographed picture? And Ozzy and Sharon showed up at his house in the limousine before the show. I still think back to how incredible that was.
I can't begin to picture something like that happening to anybody.
So
I
the
know.
Demon of Darkness is a really good-hearted person that cares about his fans, and I've always been a huge fan of his.
That's amazing. And then I guess based on the way things are sounding, this might be different. You might have a different outlook. What is the most important project do you feel to your career?
The most important project.
Or I guess the one that got to you the most gears rolling?
Well, Family Ties probably is the biggest thing I've ever been a part of.
Okay.
But a few years ago, I was the spokesperson for a technology that allows people to grow anything at all with no paid-for water year-round, even in the desert, even during a drought, even in the dry summer months. It's an amazing technology, and nobody knows about it. And that was the most important thing I ever did, was actually get the word out about that. But I didn't succeed at, for instance, no one here knows about it. So apparently I wasn't a very effective spokesperson. But I thought about it, and I decided that was the most important thing I will ever be associated with, because it has to do with being able to grow food when you otherwise can't.
Right.
And it's an amazing thing, and I can't even believe I stumbled into that, but I did. But I'm a failed environmentalist, as I was unable to move that forward. But solar and a lot of other wonderful earth-friendly technologies took a lot of time to come around. And so people have pointed out that maybe I got people that just think about it a little bit, and years later that might add up to some kind of effective effort in helping move it forward.
Have you ever thought about? I think we're going to share mics now.
Okay. Oh, this one.
Yes, yes, yes. So have you ever thought about?
We don't know which is which.
Which one? Okay. All right, we're back. Okay. So I guess have you ever thought about being like going back into the spokesperson world again?
Yeah, but it was really disheartening, disappointing experience trying to get the word out about this amazing technology that could change lives and having no one care. But I've decided one of the reasons why no one cares is because even though you hear stories about how water is limited and will someday be wars over water and water is everything, right now it comes out of our hose and there's an endless amount of it and it doesn't cost that much and nobody really cares. And even in California with the drought, that's what I found. Farmers, nobody really cared to learn how to live with using less water.
But it's 2017 and we care so much now. We can make it happen.
Supposedly.
Okay. So
I decided that if they charged for water like gasoline and we all had meters in our house, then people would care.
I guess
That saying, you don't miss your well or you don't miss your water till your well's gone dry. True that.
and then I guess as far as performing in Las Vegas for 15 years, what was that experience like? Was that like your main focus at the time?
Okay, so it wasn't like I was all year round for 15
back?
years.
Okay.
I'd go about 4 times a year, and I've been doing that actually longer than 15 years, but I don't know where you read that. You might have read that 15 years ago.
This is why
on the internet.
research
It's
is
been
wrong.
it's been about 30 years. I've
Okay.
been going to Las Vegas and Tahoe. I
All
play
right.
Harrah's there, and I love it. But I go all over the country.
Okay.
Next month, we have a 15-city tour around New York State.
Oh, that's really cool. And then I guess when did you say that started?
Next month, for the month of October.
Okay, awesome. So if any of y'all are New York based or need to find an excuse to go to New York, y'all have got it now. And so I guess something else I wanted to really talk about is you getting into the producing world and how did that come to be? Because that's a whole other gear shift
It
from.
is. It's a little different. I don't know if this one's on anymore. I'll try this one. We started in Hollywood right around 18 years old. I had hosted a show for the Disney Channel. Actually, I think it was more like 20, 21, something. I forget. Somewhere in there. So long ago. Who knows? I was young, and Disney Channel invited me to executive produce and direct a 1-hour special, and that was it. I got hooked. Loved the behind the scenes. Really got a chance to study the family ties behind the scenes, and I was very impressed with all the producers and all the writers and everything on that. And so I started working for Animal Planet. People don't know this, and Food Network, and TBS, and Game Show Network, and E Channel, and was mostly projects with comedians.
And so I guess, yeah, it sounds like even during Family Ties, were you almost during discussions, they would talk to you have these discussions with you, or would you step into the booth where they are? Or?
Right, so I didn't have that much to do on Family Ties all the time, so I took advantage of the extra time to have it be like a college for me. So I would go to the booth, like you're talking about, and I would sit under the window where the writers were having their meeting and listen in secretly. And I really did study the great people that we had on our staff.
No. It's all right. And then I guess my rambling is going to slow down just a little bit. So if anybody's got questions, yes.
Hello, I'm Angela, and I'm interested in writing horror films. And and I was wondering, how does one go forward? A common person that has a desire, interest, go forward in trying to get a written screenplay out.
What did you say your name was?
Angela?
Angela. It's good answer for you. There's a good answer. So in Hollywood, it's very hard to get anything made. But a TV series on a network, near impossible, because they only deal with the people that have successful shows on the air. And how do you get one if you don't have one? You're number 2 for 20 years. But when it comes to movies, really, anybody that writes a movie script has got a chance. If you get it out there and it's a good script, it is possible to be a complete unknown, never have done anything before, write a movie script and get it made. Still hard to do, but possible. It's doable. Because they don't require that you have had done anything prior to doing it. It's really just about, does somebody like the script? Does somebody want to see it get made?
And I would go so far as to add to that, it's not the grades you make, but the hands you shake, and that's definitely been my motto. For all
There
this
you go.
time.
So how do you do it, though? You write the script, you make sure it's a really good script, and then you get it to the right people that would make sense to produce it. You research similar movies and who was involved and who the key people were, and contact those people. And you won't find a lot of resistance. You'd be amazed. It's not like everybody's going to be like, oh, I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. I don't need you. If you say the right things and tell people, hey, I got this great script, and maybe here's the log line, and it's cool, and it sounds good, people will be like, yeah, send it over. But, there are offices, they've got people that do nothing but read scripts all day, and they grade them and stuff, and they take the best ones and send them up the ladder.
Sweet. Anybody else? All right.
Hey, man, Adon. So if you weren't doing comedian and you weren't in movies, what do you think you'd be doing? What's your other passion?
That's a good question. What other skill sets do I have?
There's a lot, though.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do. It's always been such a part of my life, it's scary to think about it.
I mean, with the producing background, you'd have a foot in the door with marketing and with business.
Marketing and stuff, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's such a weird question because I've done it my whole life. I'll tell you that I book myself now a lot of my own agency, and I'm working on a lot of different tours with a lot of people. One's called The Legends of Sitcom, and it features people from, everything from Night Court to King of Queens and stuff like that. And so, I produce that. I don't know. It's still showbiz, though, But if it wasn't in front of the cameras or in front of the mic or whatever, behind the mic, I would probably be agenting and producing, which I do already anyway, just to keep me working.
And then I guess I'm going to try to leapfrog off that question for a little bit, mentioning that you have your own agency. And then I guess, how did that come to be? What struck that for you?
Just on the road, it's very difficult. Like life itself in the United States these days, in show business, the middle class has been removed. And you're either making nothing and struggling along, or you're making $20 million a picture. And so that goes for comedy, too. You're either Chris Rock and you're selling out Madison Square Garden, or you're struggling to get that show going at the bar or whatever, wherever you're playing. And so it just, and there's a million comedians now. And so the industry changed, and it just demands, there just isn't enough agents that make enough money to bother. You just have to do it yourself.
Yes. Cool.
It's a good rule. If you want something done right, do it yourself. I like it a lot more anyway, because now I don't just go wherever they offer me to go. I go to Florida in January, and I come here for this festival, and I'm going next month in beautiful October, where the leaves turn gorgeous colors in upstate New York. And so I get to decide where I want to go, and I like that better.
That's
and who I
awesome.
want to go with.
That's the most important part, because sometimes you don't have a choice. Have you ever been in such a case?
Should we mention that your last guest up here, Angela Jones, from the movie Pulp Fiction, is the love of my life.
And y'all are right next door to each other.
I have to mention that because that's by far my best credit.
Oh, come on. All right. All right. Anybody else? Questions?
How did you pull that off? Not sure.
All right. So, if you're cool with that, I feel like we're going to wrap it here pretty soon. And
thank you, Hunter.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody at the Cult Classic. I want to say thank you to the people who put this on, to Roy and Teresa and to Ed and to the staff and the crew here for being some of the nicest people I have ever met. And I've met a lot of nice people.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Jimmy Sita, we used to do weird things in the film. the scene where he's hitting me with the little stick. Low budget movie making at its finest moment. Okay? Okay. The auteur, Tobey Hooper.
Well, you know, I know.
Would you tell us? He was looking for some instrument of torture that Jimmy Seadow could use on me in the scene. It had to be something horrible, something weird. And it was a low budget movie and we didn't have any of that stuff. So he says, aha, here, use this. And he pulled this rod out. They have what's known as gaffer's tape, where they use all this wonderful tape to do anything that you need done. They have 18 different kinds of tape on this dowel to do whatever you need done. The dowel that they were using had to be strong. It was made out of oak. The operative word here is oak. So he pulls the oak dowel and says, and the producer said,
In English?
and he said,
Let Jimmy Seadow smack him with this. Mr. Tobey, that's oak. Whatever.
you see, it's very easy to hand someone an oak dowel to pummel somebody with when it's not you being pummeled. It's in the movie. Mr. Seadow is pummeling me with the oak dowel. And you see me giving the performance of a lifetime. Ow! Oh, God! Stop! For the love of God! Toby and the producer on the other side of the camera.
He's doing really well.
Oh my god.
Our final guest has been in more than 350 has had more than 350 televised appearances, including such shows as Batman, Star Trek, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Alias Smith Jones, Gunsmoke, The Bob Hope Show, Get Smart, Mission Impossible, The Lucy Show, Jason of Star Command, Shaft, The $6 Million Man, Mary Hartman, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, The Dukes of Hazzard, The A-Team, and MacGyver, just to name a few. In a combined 55 years of acting in film, some of the 144 and counting he starred in include Spider Baby, The Big Doll House, Diamonds Are Forever, THX 1138, and Galaxies of Terror. However, most of us probably recognized him through a few films made by Hollywood superfans Rob Zombie and Quentin Tarantino. These works include House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, The Lords of Salem, Halloween, Jackie Brown, and Kill Bill Volume 2. And as soon as he makes his way up to the stage, I think y'all know who that's going to be. Let me be back up here in just a second. Please welcome to the stage, Sid Haig. Yeah, this is fucking awesome. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling just fine. Wait a second. Yes.
Cool.
Can you hear this?
All right. We're all good.
All right.
All right. So, we'll start soft. Life before show business.
Life before, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I was always in show business. when I was a kid, I was growing so fast that everything wasn't coming together right. And so I was really clumsy. I could trip over a dime. And so my parents decided that they were going to give me dance lessons. Okay, so yeah, sure. So I went to the dance class, and I just had so much fun. I thought it was great. And so I started dancing. And by the time I was 7, I was getting paid to dance, okay?
Wow.
And I went from dancing to music and got paid to play. 1 year out of high school, signed a record contract with Keene Records and wound up number 4 on the charts. And went from that to acting. And you just gave them the history there. So basically, what we're talking about is I don't like to work.
Right. So, did getting involved or did acting in major productions for television film come hand in hand right away? Or like, how did that come to be?
Well, it started very slowly. I did the first film I did was a film called The Host, and it was a short, and it was Jack Hill's student film at UCLA. Jack Hill is known basically for all of the exploitation stuff that he's done. He was one of the originators of the blaxploitation, women in prison films, all kinds of stuff. So he's my guy.
And speaking of Jack Hill, I believe you've had the most repeat collaborations with him of everybody you've worked with.
Pretty much, yeah. I've done like 10 films for him.
Yeah, and I was wondering like how y'all's working relationship evolved since the first project to the last.
Well, we were just so relaxed around one another because I trusted him, he trusted me, and I would go off script. You know, I'd say, you know, this is cool, but what about if I did this? And he said, well, do it, and you know, that's what scissors are for. And so I just do whatever came into my crazy head, and he would most of the time keep it and wind up in the film.
Yeah, and I guess by far one of my favorite films that y'all have collaborated on was Spider Baby, and I was wondering if you could share any stories from the set of that, or
that was that was an amazing thing. That was Lon Chaney Jr.'s last starring role.
Yes.
And he was so he had a history of alcoholism, okay, but he was so flattered that people remembered him and wanted him to do this film that he had it put in the contract that he could not have a drink while shooting this film.
Wow.
Yeah, and he and I spent a lot of time together. He basically became my mentor, gave me all kinds of really great advice, told me what to do, what not to do, and just in terms of conducting myself in a business, the steps, you know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess going forward, I guess with Jackie Brown, or I guess Jack Hill's sort of impression on other filmmakers that you've worked with, when Quentin Tarantino reached out to you about the role he wrote for you and Jackie Brown, did he bring up the importance of coffee or Foxy Brown to you, or?
Actually, I was supposed to do Pulp Fiction, okay?
Yeah.
But I had done so much television, and television, you just grind the work out, you know? I got to get so many setups a day. They don't care what it looks like or anything, just get it done. That's why a lot of television is kind of trashy in the last 6 weeks and is gone. And I had had a talk with my agents about not wanting to do that anymore, you know, just cranking stuff out just to get it out. And I went and I auditioned for Pulp Fiction, and he wanted me to do it, and I wanted to do it, and the deal came down, and it was for one day. If you remember the part of Marcellus, okay, Wallace, he was in 4 different locations throughout the film. And I said, how the hell are you going to go to 4 locations in one day, okay? It's impossible. It's more television no, I don't want to do it. Nobody told me that that's not the way he works. You know, if the one day takes one day, but if the one day takes 2 weeks, it's okay. Nobody bothered to tell me that, so I turned it down. Stupid. Not me, the people that didn't tell me that.
Right.
Okay. So that was, that was that deal. But we did the Jackie Brown, and the deal was that he didn't tell Pam Grier that I was playing the judge, just to kind of surprise her, because Pam and I had done 6 films together.
Yeah.
Okay. And when she came on the set and saw me in the judge's robes, she just cracked up laughing, and she wound up on the floor. She couldn't hold herself together. It was very cool.
That's awesome. And I guess of all the 6 movies that y'all have done, I guess y'all's sort of like a working and personal relationship has grown over time.
Yeah. We had a great relationship. We had one another's back all the time because doing films in the Philippines, you're in the jungle, okay, so you're basically prey. So we're watching out for snakes and spiders and making sure that she didn't trip over this or that or the other thing, and she had my back too. It was all very cool. She was doing a convention in Denver, and she was doing a Q&A just like I'm doing now, and some guy says, you and Sid Haig have done a lot of films together, and he started to say something else, and she stopped him, and she said, no, we did not fuck. Okay? So
Yeah.
that's that. That put that to bed.
Right on. And then I guess like Rob Zombie and Quentin Tarantino are obviously fans of your work, both past and present, whenever they got you on those roles. And I guess whenever the cameras weren't rolling, was there intense Q&As on the sets of their own?
There was no Q&As with Quentin, because Quentin is an absolute film buff. Any downtime, he was reciting lines from films that I did like 30 years ago, okay? And I'm going, how the hell do you remember all this shit? I can't even remember it, But he's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Working with Quentin is like working inside a blender, okay? He's got all of this energy, and it just goes out 360 degrees and sucks you into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess one of the, I guess hearing some of the interviews you did in the past, like sounds like Rob Zombie was a huge Jason of Star Command fan.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I was at Rob and Sherry's wedding reception and talking to his brother, and he said, "This is so weird." And I said, "What, the wedding?" He says, "No, standing here talking to you." I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "When Rob and I were kids, we used to wake up every Saturday morning and watch Jason of Star Command, and you scared the shit out of us, okay?" And then I started popping up in films that Rob liked, and at one point he said, if I ever get to direct a movie, I want that guy in it. That's how I got House of a Thousand Corpses. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an example of watch out what you do today, because it's going to jump up and bite you in the ass later. It's either going to be good or bad. Karma's a bitch.
And I know these sorts of questions aren't exactly the most fair, but you've been in a ton of TV shows, and I was wondering which would you say you feel was the most important to your career?
Well, okay, on a couple of different levels. As far as drama was concerned, I would have to say Mission Impossible, because I did 9 of those. No other actor in Hollywood had ever done that many episodes on that show. So, and it was a good show. Anybody remember Mission Impossible? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right. So you and I are going to talk about this. So from the dramatic standpoint, there was that, but from the comedic standpoint, I had such a ball on Mary Hartman.
Yeah.
That was just total insanity, because you come at 8 o'clock in the morning and they'd give you the script that you're going to do that day, okay? And then you would block out all the scenes, and then you block the scenes with the cameras, and then they sent you off to learn your lines, okay? At 5 o'clock, you came back and just did the show. There was never any cuts. There was never any take twos, none of that stuff. If you got in trouble, you just worked it out, okay? And they were just doing stuff on the run. I mean, I remember one time I was doing a scene with somebody, and I saw something over here in my periphery, okay? And I just took the opportunity to kind of just look over this way, and I looked back, and it said, "Sid, say this," okay? They were giving me the lines on cue cards while I'm already in a scene, all right? And then the director would never say, "Stop tape." He just would want to see what we would do, okay? So particularly with Dabney Coleman and me, when we were in a scene together, they'd just keep the tape running, and whatever we came up with, we came up with.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing this thing with this guy that's supposed to be the head of the GGG, the Glorious Guardians of Good. Get the reference there? Okay. And he was supposed to be my boss. And he says, "When we take over the White House, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to get me a copy of Hustler magazine and sit in the hot tub all damn day." Okay?
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the end of the scene. Well, no. He said, "Is that all you have in your mind?" And it's supposed to end with me like a quizzical look on my face, like, "Is there anything else?" Okay? But they never said stop tape. So I said, "Well, I would like to have a baby gorilla." Okay? Still no stop tape. With a little gold chain. Nothing. I'd call him Max and teach him how to make Mai Tais. Okay? And then all of a sudden, stop tape. Okay. And that wound up on the show. So
Yeah.
that's the way that whole show worked. Day in and day out. We put 6 shows in the can every 5 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess as I start to slow things down, if anybody has any questions,
Okay, you got any good answers?
all right.
Okay.
So I'll just come back for just a second. I guess before I started doing research, like a madman for the last 2 or 3 days, like I noticed on like the Batman box set that you were in like 2 episodes of that. And I just wanted to know what being on that set was like, given the circumstances of.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun to do. It was a situation where people were dying to get on that show. And just by coincidence, extreme coincidence, I had a guest starring role in a different TV show every night of the week for an entire week. And I said, you know what, I got to take out an ad for this because this doesn't happen every day. So I took out an ad in Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. And the producer of Batman called in his casting director and he said, "How come this guy's doing every show but mine? Get his ass in here tomorrow, okay?" So they called and they said, "Go see, the guys at Batman." I said, "All right." So I walked in and he handed me a script. He said, "Go in that room, read the script, and whatever part you want's yours." I said, "Okay, cool.
Wow.
I can do this."
That's really cool. Anybody got anything? There you go. Yeah. Oh. Hold on a second.
You touched base a little bit working with Rob and Sherry, like how you got the role, but what was it like actually to work with Rob and Sherry?
Rob is very laid back, very cool, no big drama or anything like that. He makes his vision. This is the way a director should work. He makes his vision clear to you, and then he gets the hell out of the way and lets you do your job. Okay? Sherry is like my daughter. That's the relationship that we have. Yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody else got one? Or damn, for real?
Well, shit. All right.
All right.
Oh,
Yo.
back there.
All right. Come on up.
How you doing this morning, Mr. Haig?
I'm doing fine.
Fantastic. My favorite scene that you've done in all your work is that one scene in The Devil's Rejects where you carjacked that lady and her child. That scene for me was just so captivating and just it sucked me in. Would you mind telling us how that came about? How you came about doing that? How that really just
It
I
was
don't know how to
just
put it.
crazy. I went nuts and just started running my mouth, okay? We got some top secret clown business that supersedes any need that you might have for this here vehicle. Okay. And she says, "What's that about clowns?" I, "Do I stutter, bitch?" Okay. Yeah. Then with the kid, "What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? Don't we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?" I tell you what, I'm going to come back here and check up on you and your mama. You ain't got a good reason for hating clowns? I'm going to kill your whole fucking family. Now get the fuck out of this car.
Damn.
You mean that scene? Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess if no one's got...
Dukes of Hazzard story. Jesus, the only thing that I remember about that particular episode is towards the end we started selling those phony stocks, okay, and we even got the dog involved in the deal, licking the envelopes. And the way we got the dog to lick the envelopes is we put a little line of peanut butter where the glue goes, okay? Yeah, that's my Dukes of Hazzard story.
And then I guess in a few of the shows and the movies that you've done, studio tours would have to have happened at the same time. And I was wondering, like, if there was any like interactions with
Studio wars, you mean?
Or studio tours of like people taking pictures and coming by the sets and stuff while you're working.
Sometimes people just don't engage their brain and think about what they're saying. We were doing a film called The Swashbuckler with Robert Shaw and James Earl Jones. Thank you. The one person that saw that movie. The only person in the theater. And Avery Schreiber, remember the guy that used to do the Dorito potato chip thing where he's snapping off and off? Well, he was on the film too, and he and I were standing there talking, and the tour bus pulls up, and the people get out, and this woman comes up, and she goes to him, she goes, "Sign this." And he goes, "Yes, ma'am, no problem." He goes, "And what's your name?" "Mary." "Okay, dear Mary, fuck you." Okay. Impolite bitch. But, yeah.
And anything else before I segue?
Right
Oh, there we are. Oh.
Are pretty different, but there are any things that... Oh, I know Tarantino and Rob Zombie are pretty different, but there are any things that they, how do you say, act the same on when it comes to, filming movies that they might talk to you about that you were like, oh, that's different, that they're pretty similar on that when it comes to thinking?
Yeah, well, the thing that's similar is what I brought up before. They both, Rob and Quentin Tarantino and Jack Hill, just make their vision clear and then they get the hell out of the way and let you do your job, which is the way it should work. If they had enough trust in you to hire you, then they should have enough trust to know that you know what you're doing. Yeah.
And then I think we got time for one more. All right. Gentleman on the phone.
Mr. Haig, you've worked with some of the most iconic people in Hollywood, Pam Grier, and just had a long history in Hollywood. Who of the people you've worked with is someone that you are awestruck by and that you respect greatly?
Lon Chaney Jr. Yeah.
Damn.
We were on the set, and Spider Baby was a guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. We did that whole film in 11 days, okay? And so there was very little crew members and stuff like that. At one point, they were ready for Lon's scene that he was going to do, and there was nobody to go get him. So Jack turned to me and said, go get Lon Chaney so we can get this done. So I went and I knocked on his dressing room door and I said, Mr. Chaney, they're ready for you. And he said, stop. Enough of the Mr. Chaney bullshit. You're Sid, I'm Lon, we're working together, knock that other stuff off. And that's when we really started to bond as actors. Yeah.
And then I guess you do the whole Instagram thing now, too. From what I
I
hear.
do the whole Instagram thing. Yes. I got all kinds of shit going on there. Come and visit me at Sid Haig Says. Okay? We'll have a good time.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then I guess we have a surprise for the stage.
Yes, we do.
So I'm wondering if we could have Mr. Bear Lee, sword swallowing extraordinaire, up on stage.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those who do not know who I am, my name is Bear Lee, and I'm a multiple world record holding sword swallower. And from right here in Texas. Woo!
Yeah.
Was anybody here yesterday that saw me perform? Got a few people. Thank you. I'm not going to do the same thing I did yesterday. I'm going to switch things up for y'all's entertainment, and this is going to be for everyone. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swallow a lightsaber, just because. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer a giant nail down my throat, and then finally I'm going to swallow a sword, and Mr. Haig here is going to help me pull it out. Yep. There'll be a little bit of a twist in there, though. So let's get started. I'm going to start... Don't kill me, Sid. You're an actor. You pretend to kill people.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually going to have you film if you don't mind. All right, let's start off with the lightsaber, guys. Is anybody here a fan of Star Wars? You can get these at the Ripley's Believe It or Not gift shop in Dallas, Texas, if anybody's from Dallas. That's where I got this one. I literally took it off the shelf and swallowed it for the crowd there. And sword swallowing is 100% real, guys. There are many people that fake it. I do not fake it. What happens is I suppress the gag reflex. It travels down my throat through the upper esophageal sphincter, where it is now in my chest cavity. It squeezes between the lungs. It pushes my heart forward. Yes, I will repeat that. It pushes my heart forward. It travels down past the liver and the kidneys into the stomach, where it will rest. This is 28 inches, and this is how you swallow a 28-inch lightsaber. Let's get a countdown, guys. 10, 9. Yay, I didn't die. It's always great when you pull it out and don't see blood. There are 28 people, 29 professional sword swallowers that have died doing this. This is extremely, extremely dangerous, and I really could die right in front of your eyes. So if this goes well, please make as much noise as you can. If I'm going to die or potentially die, I just want to get at least some recognition. So please, get as loud as you can for this. Now, I'm going to hammer a nail down my throat. But unfortunately, nobody in this entire building apparently has a hammer. I even asked maintenance. But the police officers right here, this guy right here, let's give it up for the police officers, guys. Come on. He loaned me his baton, and it's not the first time I've gotten a weapon off an officer, just for the record. But we're going to hammer this nail down my throat. You guys ready? Actually, my throat is a little dry. Let me down some water real quick. Yeah, it really sucks when it goes in dry. You know, hey. this is my nail. Here we go, guys. It's not as big, but it's not plastic either. This is 100% real metal. Sid here can verify that does not bend, it does not retract. That's how you bust your head open, Sid. Let's see if it's real. Come on, Sid. Ladies and gentlemen, the nail. I'm going to swallow this on my knees like most people do. If I don't make the joke, Sid, somebody will. All right, here we go. Make some noise,
Yeah.
And finally, guys, the moment you've all been waiting for, an actual sword. I am going to swallow a 28-inch sword. It is going to go all the way to my stomach. I'm going to bow, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Haig. You are going to pull it out just like this gentleman right here did yesterday. And hopefully you're going to do what he did and not kill me. No twisting. None of this.
He's going to twist it.
Whatever you do, do not push. That's like the worst thing you can do.
He's probably going to
just
do
nice and easy. And I'm going to add a little twist to make this a little more interesting. You guys ready? If you don't have your cameras out, now's the time to do it. And if you're not following Sid on Instagram, there is something wrong with you. It is Sid Haig Says. Give him a follow. All right, guys, here we go. Make some noise, guys.
Come on, everybody. Yeah. All right, so we got our 8.
We have to eliminate him, Jonas?
I'll help too.
Yeah. Okay. No, I want to walk out.
Yeah, okay, sweet.
Let's let them get involved.
All right.
Now you guys get to be the assholes.
Cool. All right, so we're going to go from where I'm at all the way down.
It's on you, dog.
Who's down for Mike? Yeah?
Can you help us?
Come on. All right. How about
That's my guy.
Ed Gein? Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, that's what I thought it was. I like some Ed Gein.
Okay. Maybe Chop Top?
Crowd favorite, I think.
Chop Top. It's good to see you guys.
All right. And then, how about this gentleman here? He does the voices down as well. Captain Spaulding, anybody?
Someone has just taken the lead.
Dang.
Turn 4.
All right. And,
Hi, I'm Reagan. I'm 12 years old. Shove a cock up your ass, you motherfucking cocksuckers!
Damn.
That's it. I think we have a winner. I think we have a winner. Yeah.
So,
One for this side,
there's
please.
quite a variety of talent that spans across many genres of the cult classic convention, and fans that have come to celebrate their work.
That's right.
All of us, however, share our love for the raw power and intensity that resides in the first 2 installments of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. We are fortunate to have with us today 8 members and victims of the Sawyer family here to share their accounts with us. And
where the fuck are they?
Everybody's coming.
Language.
It's all coming. And I guess as we're waiting for the rest of the guys, we'll have you all introduce yourselves and y'all's roles in the film.
My name is Mikilius Rosita. I'm not from your country.
I'm Caroline Williams, Scratch, Texas.
The Caroline Williams?
Yes!
I'm
Sean Dugan. I played Grandpa in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We got Bill.
Here now.
William Vale, Kirk from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Very cool. And we got this quiet guy over here. He's just been here all day, hasn't said much. And all right, I don't know how he did that. That was nuts. But
It was intense.
all right. So, as we give everybody a chance to come up on stage, I guess we'll. All right. Here to join us. Yes. Introduce yourself for anybody who, for some reason, want to know.
Bill Johnson.
Chainsaw
2. Music is my life.
But wait a minute, who did you play?
I played with Stretch for a little while. He played Bubba, Leatherface 2.
Right on. Very cool. And then, I guess now I can get started on a couple of these questions before I open it up to the audience. Everybody's got some good questions of their own. And I guess we will start things off by, I just wanted to sort of know, like, how the films that, okay, so yeah, I was just gonna start things off by wondering how the films that y'all were in affected each of y'all's lives and careers after being in it.
Here comes Alan.
I went right in the toilet at that point. I'm kidding. Let's see. I left there and went to
Alan!
went to New York and studied acting and did theater, which I'm not sure was the right choice to make, but that's the one I made at the time. So, and then I did a little acting in Hollywood, and then I went into became a set decorator and did that for the last 30 years.
Very awesome.
Yeah, so that's how it affected me.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was personally responsible for me leaving the seminary, and I've had a lot of fun since.
I would never have had a job without all the other guys sitting on this stage.
What was the question?
Okay, so
Cuervo with a straw.
So the question was how the films that you were in affected your life and your career after which.
Well, it kind of tanked my career. It affected my life, and well, I have a retirement now. You know, this is my retirement, staying on the road the rest of my fucking life. Selling autographs. But
it's an R-rated movie.
Oh, sorry about that. It's pretty much it affected my life in a lot of ways. You know, I can't put a finger on it, but I wouldn't be here if it weren't for it. And I got to travel quite a bit. 4 different countries to this film. Met lots of interesting people. It was great.
Awesome.
This film has certainly made friendships in other areas very strong. I didn't find out till 13 years after the film was made that I had already known most of the people in the cast. William Vale and I went to UT together at the same time.
All right, welcome horns.
As Edwin, we all three went to the same drama department at the same time and worked in shows together. So that was pretty wild. And then I came to work for Alan Danziger in 3 Ring Service as the Green Reaper. Yeah, we're doing the Greengram, coming in and doing those over-the-hill birthdays. So Alan, he You know, he got me out of the dungeon and got me up on the road, and you know, he gave me the time release. I had to get back to get the antidote. I was not going to be able to cash the check. So,
It would bounce.
it would bounce. So now, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Danziger. Don't be goofing on him.
Is this on? Oh, yeah. Most of the people here, or all of them, were actors or were, you know, in acting school or whatnot. My background is in social work. The reason I got into Chainsaw is because I was in Toby's first movie called Eggshells. I think about 30,
All right, yeah.
Yes.
I think about 30 people saw that movie. But because of that, that's how I got into Chainsaw. And as you recall, I get killed with a sledgehammer. 40 years later, I'm still getting headaches. It's been a rough. But anyway, I had a great time, and I didn't realize that this movie would have the impact that it has. So it's been a great experience for me.
Thank you. I guess I'd like to rewind just a little bit and see what everybody's life was like before these films came into their lives and ours.
Well, since I'm holding the microphone, I was in theater school at the Art Institute of Chicago, my second year there. And for the summer, I was doing a children's play called Terry Little Tales, dressed in green and yellow tights and little jazz shoes. Yeah. And singing folk songs and telling folk tales from around the world to children from the inner city of Chicago who threw these little green crab apples at you that they picked in the park across the street. 2 shows a day, 6 days a week, $175 a week. So like what, $12.50 a show or something.
That was good money.
It was good money in 1973, really, for a paid acting gig, $175 a week. But my share of my rent in this huge apartment in Chicago with 5 guys was like $45 a month, including utilities. So, you know, I could live on $175 a week. And the beer was only 99 cents a 6-pack. So, and then there's the, you know, the little turkey pot pies, so beer, turkey pot pies, and cheap rent. 175 was like a fortune. And Kim Henkel called. He was married to my sister, and he called like in late June and said, "I got this thing I want you to do." He actually, what he said to me is, "Hey," and I answered the phone. He goes, "Hey, John." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you crazy, man?" And I said, "Yeah, man. What do you need me to do? I'm getting crazy right now." And so I went and gave notice in the play, and she was not real pleased, the producer, and told me that Roddy McDowell would never have done Planet of the Apes if he weren't an established actor first. So there I was at 20 years old compared to Roddy McDowell, which was really an honor.
That's great.
So that's what I was doing.
I was auditioning in Austin for community theater and also whatever films would come through town. And so when this audition came through, I hadn't seen the movie. And then I saw it and I thought, second, you know, I had other thoughts about doing the movie, but because it was so scary. However, this came in and, you know, they saw immediately the right kind of sick person, so thank God. And I haven't worked since.
Oh, liar.
That's not true.
Not Alan? Alan's dead.
Alan passed it.
Okay.
Alan took a pass.
I started my career in Houston in 1983, and I had worked for Louis Malle, who was an incredible French director, and Legend of Billie Jean, Getting In, you know, some Texas-based films that were really fun and great. And then I was called to audition for this. I can tell that audition story in 4 sentences. I ran screaming down the hallway of the casting office, burst through the door and pulled the chairs out from under Kit Carson and Toby Hooper, piled the chairs in front of the door, backed into a corner, saying, "They live on fear, they live on fear." And that's how I got cast.
That was 3 sentences.
I've shortened it. I've gotten better at this.
I'm very thankful to the film for opening up an entire fantastic phantasmagoria of work. I get paid to talk stupid, and I'm not even in politics.
But he should be. Well, I was in drama school at UT before this. And what else can I say about that? You know, the thing I keep wanting to say is what's happened since the film, and the best part, and I think I speak for everybody up here, is the people that we get to meet. Because we had no idea when we made this movie that it would go, past the end of the block, straight to video, would be forgotten, no one would ever see it again. And look at where we are today. After all these years, man, it's just incredible. Thank you all for being fans. We have
I'm glad you actually brought that up because I would like to sort of see, I guess, how important conventions have become for you guys, and just just attendance and just meeting all these people that you thought you'd never.
Well, like I said, it's incredible. And every time I come out and meet more people, I feel it's great to connect with people. Guys who have seen the film, they love the film, they hold it in such high esteem, and then finally get to meet them and talk to them and hear how much they loved all of our performances. It's just really thrilling, And I'm a lucky guy.
You want to get humbled, and you sit at a table, and you meet beautiful people, like that gentleman there from Australia, the wonderful gentleman we met from London, and really beautiful, terrific exotic locations like Luli. The man came up to our table, and he said, "I just came clean from Luli." I said, "Nobody comes clean from Luli."
And you're done.
On both sides.
One of the things that is the best about these conventions is, unlike other film fans, standard Hollywood pictures, we're actually accountable to you. You guys tell us what it is you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason that the 80s style horror, with its practical effects and its artistry, incredible music, we've got David Vincent, who's a metal artist. Music like that is showing up in our films. We're our own universe, we're our own culture, and now we own the fucking world.
Convention, okay. I came back, I did a few conventions, sort of things back, our 20th anniversary maybe, when we did a small tour that we did Ohio, San Jose, Pasadena, something else, and your sweet sister Penelope was with it. Sorry. And then I took a break for 10 years, I guess, and went back on the road about 11 years ago. And I had no idea how the convention scene had changed in that length of time, and what a culture it was. And it really, it allowed me to transition from a 40-hour-a-week job to being able to do this and then do 2 or 3 independent horror films a year, straight to video, but still, I made the transition from working full-time to working part-time to not having to have a regular job at all, and being able to do this and to meet all you people and to hear your stories, and where were you the first time you saw it? And the gentleman I was talking to this afternoon saying, we were talking, he said, it's not just my favorite horror film, it is my favorite film. He said it's great production quality, great acting, great writing, great direction, great lighting, great, He said it's like, he said, screw Citizen Kane. You know, this to me is the greatest movie I've ever seen. You know?
But it's listed in the AFI's top 100 films with Citizen Kane.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Did not know that.
It is an incredible classic.
Put that on my resume.
It's true.
But so it's given me finally a life that I wanted. You know, to get out of just I was managing. I was a bar manager at a gambling casino on the Elmira River, which was it was a relatively good, steady job with the insurance, but it was fucking butt awful. And when I started doing this again, it allowed me to ease out of that and go to some part-time work, and then eventually not have to do that at all. So it saved my life, really, in a lot of ways.
I met my wife on the road. So.
Stacy.
Conventions.
Being able to go to conventions, life of conventions is anything but conventional. It's kept me out of the convent. I'm falling over, help me out.
I want to know what you were doing in the convent.
I guess the first convention that I did was about 30 years after the movie was shot. So a lot of people didn't even recognize me. I was a young guy when the movie started. But when I went to my first convention, I honestly thought I'd be meeting serial killer wannabes. But lo and behold, I met some of the nicest people, and I continue to meet some of the nicest people at these conventions. A fun story is when the movie was over, this was in '74, my parents were retired in Florida, which if you're over 60, it's the law, you gotta move to Florida. And this is 1974, so they showed the movie in a porno theater. It was a double feature, and the first feature was Debbie Does Dialysis. The second feature was Chainsaw, and everything was cool until the scene where I get killed, whereupon my mother gets up and starts screaming at the screen for me not to go into the house. She caused such a ruckus that the manager almost escorted her out of the theater. So, but they ended up calling me to make sure I was still alive. That's apropos to nothing, but it's a neat story.
Great story.
I think it's time to open it up to the audience. You're the first person I saw. Yeah, come on up. Tell us your name and your question.
What's going on, guys? Jesse from Houston, Texas.
Hi, Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, first of all. And my question is when you guys work with directors now, a lot of them grew up watching Chainsaw. So what's it like working with fans, ultimately?
Who wants to take this?
Working with fans as a director?
Like when you guys work with movies that, these days, a lot of times, there are people that grew up watching Chainsaw.
Oh, these directors now are kids. They grew up watching Chainsaw. So
you're doing good, John. Keep
No.
Well, for those who, I can't speak because I haven't worked since this movie. So.
That is not true.
Not true.
Well,
It's
sort
not
of.
true. It's not true.
So it's fabulous to have a sense of an event in history that seems to have an effect over a long period of time, and people are happy about it, which is great. How many people are happy about movies for more than a week after the movie's over? So this has been 30 plus years. You're such an interesting good group.
We need that light.
You need that light,
Hello, Clary.
Even non-genre directors, when I did Grey's Anatomy, I worked for Debbie Allen. And Debbie Allen comes from musical theater, and she is a singer and a dancer, and she was on a star on the television series Fame, but she's from Houston, Texas. And Isaiah Washington was from Houston, Texas. And they asked me questions about Chainsaw 2 and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And like I said, it's considered a classic film, and it is. And but as far as working for genre directors, they have a real reverence for those films. I've been very lucky. I work for strong directors. They're not afraid to direct me. They don't leave me with my ass hanging out, all on my own, not knowing what the hell's going on, because every actor wants a director who has a strong vision that will tell them what it is they want and how to accomplish the goal of the film. And my experience, it's a luxury ride. It's been a luxury ride for 30 years.
Thank you for saving my question.
I didn't really realize how old I had gotten. I was working with a young director about a month ago, and I'm listening to some music during the break, and he comes by and he goes, "It's the Beatles." And he goes, "The Beatles?" "Oh yeah, Paul's first band."
Oh, Ed, somebody turn that light on, please.
All right.
It's dead.
All right.
I'm an actress. We need our lights. We're not one side. We do
Some of
this.
us just need the shadows, thank you.
All right, fellas. Again, thank you very much for showing up. Just want to ask your opinion on the new remake of movies that are coming out now. Like, are you happy with them? And you think, have they destroyed the passion of the very first one and the second? Just what's your opinions on the new remakes of them?
I have an opinion.
Go for it, John.
The most recent one, which I haven't seen and don't really have any intention of seeing, which is called Leatherface, I believe. I hate to sound like a nationalist of some kind, but it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was filmed on location in Bulgaria with a French director, and the actor who plays Leatherface is from England.
England?
Yes, he's a Brit. So that, you know, and I don't know what the fascination is in Hollywood with British actors playing Americans, but in the last 2 years, we've had a British actor play Hank Williams in a major Hollywood film. A British actor played Thomas Wolfe in a major Hollywood film. I can ignore those. But a British actor playing Leatherface? Please! What the hell is going on?
Well said, John. I'm about to disagree. Johnson?
I'm good.
Generally, I'm not crazy about remakes because you cannot catch lightning in a bottle. Even the second Chainsaw Massacre was not necessarily well received because it was nothing like the original. But what made it interesting and fun is it was directed by Toby Hooper.
Well, the young guys think, well, I'd like to make another movie like yours. Let me pick your brain. What's your favorite horror film? And I said, Showgirls, the director's cut.
Next question.
You are so funny.
Where are they at?
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm from Bastardo. I've met a few of these people before, but I wanted to know how y'all feel about the younger generations really getting touched by this movie and really turning into fans.
I think it's incredible. We have fans, and I'm not kidding you, there may be some here, but this tall on up. And from, what did you say, 5 to 75. And we've seen them all, and it's just wonderful that the movie holds up. And I think that's why, you know, we have new fans, new young fans. It hasn't faded like some of us up on the stage.
I'd like to get serious for a moment. Okay. What amazes us is that the kid is 7 years old, can't see the film, not old. They're with the parents at the show, the parents have seen the movie 80 times. We're willing to let him watch it next year. Next year, the kid sees it, and then we meet them again at a different show, and now they're a fan. And so that's why Rex Reed calls the silly movie the film that won't die. It just has a life of its own, and we're forever humbled by it.
Well, the neat thing about it is really from a financial standpoint, is that just when the market is completely saturated and everybody has your autograph, there's a whole bunch of new people that don't have your autograph. So you can just keep on signing. It's wonderful. Yeah!
It's nice to at last have a film that represents good citizenship.
Yes.
And happy endings. Enough said.
I have grandkids, they're in their 20s, and my son still won't let them see the movie. But, I mean, the movie really has been really good to me. So much so that now I live in a penthouse apartment overlooking the Austin skyline. And I guess it was about 6 or 7 months ago, I got a call. My butler, who's also my son, said to me, Mrs. Danziger, it's Roy Rose on the phone for you. And he was gracious enough to invite me, and that's how I got to be here with you today. So that's my story.
And then I saw you next.
Yeah, mine's kind of a two-part. I mean, hey, I'm Parrish, and it's the first time I've seen all of you guys together, okay? And it's awesome, by the way. And thanks to the Cult Classic Convention for bringing us together, Ed, Roy, Lisa, Teresa, everyone. But as you know, Marilyn was a dear friend of mine. And my question is, or I guess a request, do any of you have any personal recollections of the late Marilyn Burns, who screamed away through Chainsaw Massacre and made it, wow, intense as heaven?
Well, I don't know if I can remember something right off the top of my head. But I just want to say that I miss him. I had a number of posters to sign, and it didn't get to me until about the third poster, and it was just like, what a shame they're gone. They were great people and great actors.
The first time I ever saw Marilyn was we were at UT, and she was in a production of, I think, Trojan Women.
Yes.
And she was so beautiful, and I was way in the balcony. But she had just done her hair. Not so much the way that Trojan Women did their hair, but she was wanting to make a good impression, so she had her hair done. In this wonderful Texas bouffant thing. And I'm sitting there going, so they introduced me to her, and they said, well, how did I do? And I said, great hair.
That's where she learned to kick ass to the conquering men.
Exactly.
Trojan Women was about the women who had been suppressed during the war, Trojan War. And all these dudes came in and were swinging big ones, and then the women took out their knives and took care of that for them. So that's how, Toby sees, I think, women as being stronger stronger in dirt. And so, because both women from both films were triumphant in their escape And especially Caroline, where she got to take over.
Somebody asked me once, how are you going to film Marilyn's shoes? And I said, that's impossible. She wore a 4.5.
Yeah, no, I was going to say something very much like that. Are you kidding? Her feet were like that.
She was a very tiny little thing, but she was fierce as hell. And her performance is so utterly cinema verite. She's so completely real. She's like a European actress, you know, in that film. And if it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't have had a job.
You know, we're all here, and I think we all should give a hand this year to Roy Rose for putting this on. And well, I'm thinking about a quick story about Roy at the gas station, because that's one of my favorite scenes. And as you recall, we drive into the gas station to get gas, only to find out that they got no gas. They got barbecue, but they got no gas. And Jim Seadow, the cook, comes over to the van to tell us that they got no gas. And I think it was on the third or fourth take, as he comes over, the troll, who was a friend of Marilyn's, the guy with the soapy water, dirty soapy pail, comes over and splashes water on the windshield. I think it was on the fourth take. Jim Seadow was about 2 feet from the van on the passenger side, and I'm leaning over to hear what he's saying, and he splashes all that soapy water onto Jim Seadow's face. So here's a trained actor trying to deliver his lines with soapy water just cascading down his face. Needless to say, Bill and I, we lost it. You know, we just couldn't, scene after take, just wouldn't work. Finally, Toby, rest his soul, walked off irate. And Kim Heaple had to finish that scene, but that's one of my favorite scenes. I just thought I'd tell that.
I guess I'd actually like you to come up on stage, actually, because this is the man who actually brought Nubbins here.
I don't even know where to start.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Jason Guy, and actually I saw part 2 first, then went back and I think it was one day we got out of school early, went to the local video store, rented part 1. Had to watch it during the day because I didn't want to watch it at night. And just the realism of it just hit, and scared me. You know, I would go outside and like, this shit really happened here. And looking in my backyard, like, he might run out, you know. But, I mean, again, thanks to Roy for making this happen, because I never thought I would make it down here. And yesterday when we came in, it was, or actually Thursday, we stopped at the gas station. I got out, and just it started hitting me, and I pulled a poke, you know, like out, and kissed the concrete slab right there, and I stood there looking at the front, and you know, just standing there, and like my friend Tony started asking me something, and I was just like, and I broke the fuck down, because I'm like, this started it all right here, and it's like my mecca. I'm home, you know, and then to get into collecting with Triton Nubbins and a few other pieces, including Marilyn's Saw Your Necklace from 3D, which means so much, and then gaining uncles, sister, and a grandpa means the fucking world to me, and I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be friends and family with people that started my love for the genre and the best franchise that started everything, you know. It means the fucking world to me, and I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. And Alan started on it, and we do have Jim's cook, you know, coveralls over there, and I mean, I love Nubbins, but Jim, his comedy, his comedic genius, just my favorite character of anything. And I mean, your story was awesome because I got no gas, and Roy puts it on his little tail, their little license plate covers, and I was just like, perfect. If anybody had any other pseudo stories, we'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much.
All right. And then anybody else got anything?
Hi, I'm Ed Teton. I live in Austin, and before I ever saw the film, I happened to be personal friends with Bob Burns and Gunnar Hansen. And unfortunately, neither one of them can be here today because they've gone on to other things. But I wondered if any of you could tell your memory of them, and some of their contributions to the film.
Well, when you say that, Gunnar and I had known him before. He was in UT, but I had known him. He wasn't in the theater department. But what Gunnar and I enjoyed doing was Life Death.
Get a little more on the mic, please, Bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
He and I choreographed My Death together, and a little bit with Toby too. But mainly the way we worked it out, and everything was down, we were ready to do it, and then both of our adrenaline got pumping so hard that I went running down the hall, and he came out and hit me so hard with that hammer that it broke blood vessels in my eye. And then he picked me up and threw me like a rag doll against the wall and just smashed me. It was, and then they said, okay, now let's do it again. Take two. But Gunnar, I called him my brother in blood, and he liked that. So, and the other, Bob. Bob, I remember going into the house for the first time. Terry and I went in there and started walking around, being, curious little kids in his house with all the bones and the shades and the chicken in the, in the cage there. And Bob came running into the room. Don't touch anything! He had spent so much time collecting the bones from India, from the States, from all over, and just loved every piece. It was like his children, right? And so he scared the shit out of us, and we all ran out of the room. But that was my first meeting with Bob Burns, was him scaring me to death.
Come by the table if you can. I've got 8,400 Gunnar stories. We have time for them, not now. But quickly about Robert Burns. I've been involved in just about every form of show business there is. I once appeared in a phone booth in Poughkeepsie. But Robert Burns created a wonderful playground for actors. Yes. And everywhere you turn, there were chicken heads nailed to pieces of wood. There, a real chicken head. In real movies, they would have had plastic because chicken ferments if it's real, and it did. But everywhere you turned, there were smells. It was tactile. It was, your acting was brilliant. Yeah, whatever. It was due in great part to Robert Burns' playground.
My experience with Gunnar was relatively limited, but what I loved about Gunnar was the enormous similarity between him and Bill Johnson, both intellectuals, writers, poets. The similarity, the reason that Bill was cast, I think, had everything to do with how he was so much like Gunnar, But I love what you said about Bob and his art direction, because Carrie White, who was the art director in Chainsaw 2, was quoted in a couple of interviews that he wanted to try to meet the standard that Bob Burns created in that first film. And I think he really did, because, and of course, ultimately it was all Toby's vision. So I think the two movies are so closely related, and so they're just such rich environments for your imagination to take hold as an actor.
Gunnar and Robert. I first met Gunnar in the what was our only makeup trailer dressing room. It was. If you've seen Breaking Bad the first season, the RV, what's his name? That's what we had out there. That was it for the entire cast crew, everything. And it was filled with costumes and makeup, and this is where they had little production meetings and stuff. And there was sort of an air conditioning, you know, kind of. And Gunn was getting ready. It was his first day working with the chainsaw. And he was getting dressed and we were talking. And he pulled on an undershirt and it had a series of holes all the way across the stomach. Like something that a teenager would do to make it look cool. But I said, what's the deal with the shirt? He says, this is to remind me the last time I worked with a chainsaw.
Oh my God.
I just want that there to remind me. That's a pretty good idea, man. And over the years, he and I became very close friends. He was an unbelievable man. A man of many facets. Gentle giant, could turn into a roaring maniac at the drop of a hat, somebody pissed him off. And I miss him dearly. Robert, I didn't know that well. I worked with him a little bit because I worked as a production assistant, kind of all around, go for a grip kind of guy. Because there was a 3-week lag between the time I sat for makeup and the time that they needed me to act. So I had a lot of time to kill. So I went out, I spent a good deal of time on the set because I wanted to learn how to make films. And so I helped with a little bit of the set decoration, that sort of thing. He was really focused on, he was passionate about what he had done with this film. And his production design and his set decoration really was just another cast member in the film, was another actor. It wouldn't have been the film that it was without that. And I was very impressed with him. And then the legendary arguments between he and Toby, which would give us a half-hour break occasionally. It's like, okay, let's go smoke. They're gonna be a while here. But, and when you have artistic differences between creative people, somebody's got to win, I guess. You have to reach some sort of compromise, but I think 9 times out of 10, Robert won on that deal. So.
Yeah. After the movie was over, I actually became good friends with Gunnar, and he stayed with me before he moved to Maine. But my experience with Leatherface was I had not seen what he looked like while the movie was going on. I wasn't on set. So my first experience was actually seeing Leatherface. And to get myself into this deal, I had myself blindfolded, and so I could work myself up into the frenzy I needed to have. And so I'm blindfolded till they yell action. I go into the house, I meander through into the kitchen. I see the hook. I hear the freezer vibrating. I go over, I open it up, she bolts upright, and I start to leave, get out of there, whereupon Gunnar appears in the framework of the doorway, and I let out with a blood-curdling scream. Whereupon Toby yells, cut, comes over to me, and says, Alan, that's a great scream, but you gotta wait till he's in the frame so we can get it. So they had to do about 3 or 4 takes, and then eventually, I think it was Lou Perryman, one of the grips, got behind me with his fingers through my belt loop and yanked me down so that scene would take place. That's my story with Gunnar.
Who played LG in Chainsaw 2? Lou Perryman. So, my Gunnar story is not, of course, from the film, but first time I met him was at Cinema Wasteland for the 30th anniversary that Alan and the rest were there, and introduced, and we met each other, and I asked him to sign my program, and Gunnar graciously signed it, and I took it back and I read it to Bill, Even though you're number 2, you'll always be number 1 to me. Hilarious sense of humor. Hilarious. I love it. And one other thing, Toby has, the thing we have in common is Toby, you know, and he shuffled off this month. And the thing about, I think, him, when he came on the set, he was like a conductor to a symphony. He was fully in the mood and the rhythm and tempo of this production, and everybody get on board. Because he's the leader, and we followed, and he was always there with this time signature and the mood signature for the particular scene we're in. So all the other actors and all the other directors are taking a swing at this franchise. Toby's come up with 2 brilliant masterpieces, and everybody else is an also-ran. I mean, they did real good, but Toby did The Last Supper and, you know, the Mona Lisa. Everybody else is The Last Supper, dessert section.
Alright, so what do you guys think about Chainsaw in 3D? How did y'all feel about that film?
I loved it. I had an air-conditioned trailer, and I got paid really well on time. Actually, when I called about my paycheck, I just wanted to know about when we were getting paid so I could work out my finances, and it was like 5 days after I left Louisiana, and the PA in the office, so I was talking, well, there's been a little mix-up with the payroll, and I thought, oh, here we look at the same old song and dance in the film business, you know, the checks in the mail sort of thing. And he said, but we should be getting it straightened out tomorrow. And I said, can I give you my my bank account information? Can you direct deposit it? He goes, no, we can't do that. So, and then, okay, well, great. And he goes, well, I can overnight it to you. I was like, fucking A. Oh, okay, yeah, do that. Well, this Hollywood movie stuff's pretty cool. This union thing ain't half bad. So, I liked it. I actually liked the film. I think there were some holes, some major holes here and there in time frames and whatnot. And I realized that hardcore fans thought, thought maybe Leatherface was too kissy huggy and that he should have killed his own cousin and all this shit. You should have seen my Facebook page. Good God. Everybody had an opinion. Well, if I hadn't written it, you know what? You didn't jack off, so shut up. But, I enjoyed the film, and I loved doing it, and I was flattered that they asked me to. And I always wondered why none of the other directors asked me to be Grandpa again. But particularly this last one, which I would have been, I'm like the exact same age as the actor they had playing Grandpa in the new Leatherface film. But, yeah, but I'm an American, so I actually spent some time in Texas, so they would want to do that. But it made too much sense. But there was something else I was going to say about it, and I totally forgot. Oh, but just, it was neat to put on, 38 years later, to put on the makeup again and the suit. And it was kind of surrealistic, really. Just like, wow, here I am, a half a lifetime later, and here I am, in the rocking chair,
Up your rocker.
Yeah, with a hammer in my hand, it was just weird. It was weird in a neat way, weird.
Anybody else have anything to say about 3D?
I don't understand. Maybe I'm too old school. We did it in the 1D, it was fine. Now all of a sudden they need 3 friggin' Ds. What the hell? No, have you seen that famous meme where the kid's walking down the street trying to decide what movie he's gonna go see, and he looks up on the big sign and goes, Halloween 26, Chainsaw 19.
And I think we've got time for one more. Who's got the one?
Oh, no,
It would be the one dressed as Leatherface.
Oh, there you go.
What do you got?
Oh boy, this ought to be great.
Hello, my name's Ryan from Shiprock, Mexico, and I was just wondering, how do you guys feel at convention when you see fans dress up and do cosplays as the movies you guys were in, like dress up like the
We
Hitchhiker?
prefer them undressed, but there are laws.
They're doing invitations and dressing up in the costumes, and what do you guys think about all that?
We're trying to find a way to turn that into an income stream.
Oh, you're on.
And
You're on, Bill. Go.
Okay, I'm going to break it down.
Oh, well, yeah. What do you guys think when you see that? Like costume, dressed up, cosplays, and
It's awesome.
and the props that they bring to you
Somebody's
guys.
gonna spend time and effort and money to homage their favorite film. That's an honor. An
Yes,
honor.
it is. Yes, it is. Agreed.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love the cosplay thing. I think it's one of the neatest things about the whole con scene. It keeps it interesting during slow times, but also it's not not just the cosplay that is about us, but all of it and all the different subcategories of cosplay. Like the steampunk, and then the anime ones, and
That guy right there.
and
That guy right there.
That guy there.
Some beaver.
The sexy stuff I've always enjoyed,
Shot.
So the ones who just like make up a character just to show their cleavage, I like those.
Oh, there we go.
Sexist.
What film are you from? Nothing. I just made this up. It's just the character I made up to show off my cleavage. So I like it all.
They call from the home, your meds are ready.
All right. Thank y'all so much for coming out.
The Psycho Bastardo Show.